Hello, it's Pete here. Welcome to the vlog. And today we are looking again at the wonderful Village Collection from Tim Holtz. And we're going to try and recreate this lovely festive Christmas cottage. Okay, well let's start off. Let's have a look. These are some of the dies that I've been using today. Some of the various ones and a few others beside. Now these are some of 87 different dies. That's right, 87 in this set alone. But let's talk about what we're going to use today. These are all the parts. So we've got two sets of, well, a set of walls. Now this one is slightly different because it has this arched piece here onto which the porch fits, and this is the porch itself. We've got the door, we've got some detail for the door. We've also got the chimney breast with this little strip which runs around the top. We've got our roof, and you'll notice that this roof has a notch in it, and that's very important because that fits over the porch. Then we've got two rooftops. There's a set of our wonderful tiles or shingles. Now, you will need about a dozen sets of these, so cut as many as you need for the make. And finally, the porch roof. Now, you can see the windows I've used here. Those are fairly standard, but if I flip this over, I just want to show you some of the variety that we have here. We have all the standard windows. We've got round, we've got oval, we've got vintage, we've got church windows, we've got some with shutters, all our different doors here. This lovely church window with this gorgeous tall frame as well. So there's lots and lots of variety for you to be getting your teeth into. Now let's put those to one side for a second, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a wonderful product that is our sticky grid sheets, or rather, when I say our, I mean Tim's sticky grid sheets. He came up with the idea for this. And so I've put the walls down. Now I've actually made sure that it runs along that baseline, and I've used this central line here to go up the spine of the roof. Now I've chosen this window and door combo for the front. Doesn't really matter about the door because we're going to be covering it with the porch anyway. So the great thing about this is you can reposition it, you can put it exactly where you want. But the wonderful thing about sticky grid sheets, and Josh has done a great video showing how to get the best out of these as well. Great thing about them is that obviously it's the low tack. So your cardstock doesn't stick to them, but it keeps everything where you need it. So this window, you see, I'm using that center line to make sure I've got it lined up perfectly. And if it's slightly off kilter, you can move that around with your tweezers, whatever you're using. And then next up, all you need to do is place your card on the top. So I know that nothing is going to slip out of register. So let's just take my big shot machine, and if you have a spare cutting plate, that's what the sticky grid sheets are for. Keep the sticky grid sheet all the time on that spare cutting plate. You can take it off and put it back on. It's fine. There's adhesive both sides. It works perfectly. So we'll run this through now. So here it comes out the other side. I don't have to worry about whether the windows stayed where I put them because I'm getting a consistent cut every single time. Let's just peel this away. There we have it. And then I'll probably use my tweezers just to help a little, just to tease that away. It is very low tack, so it holds onto the paper, but not too much. It's not going to disrupt the surface of your card. And there it is. Now, you'll notice as well, there are a lot of crease lines here. So if I take those out for just a second, what I can then do is start to fold these over, because next up, what I want to do, now you can use embossing folders as well to add texture to these, and I'm going to show you those in a second. But before you emboss, it's quite important that you make your folds. So folding across those crease lines, because if you emboss without first making those folds, then you'll find that sometimes you'll lose them. So let's use my lovely fold and form tool to ensure that I've got a really crisp fold there. There we are, it's just coming down here. And that's it. So I know now that when I emboss, I'm not going to lose all of these lovely folds. So embossing folders, well, we've got 3, or rather Tim has released 3 to accompany this set. So you can buy these separately. There's cobblestone, there's timber, these are the mini folders incidentally, and mini brickwork. Now let me show you what these look like. Now this is with opulent cardstock. Obviously I've just done them on these to show you how the light works and the depth of the texture that you're getting. But if you use a dry brush technique, which is what we like to do around here, then how about that? Just applying different shades of acrylics really brings out that deep texture. And the depth, I know everybody's mad keen on this brickwork one because the depth comes out, it goes in, every little facet, every little kink in the brickwork actually shows up, the same with that lovely timber as well. So let's take a look at how to get the best out of these. And I'm going to reach across for my timber one. And I'm going to do something before I emboss. What we always recommend is that you spritz with a little bit of clean water. And what that will do, it will soften the fibers of the card and allow them to stretch. Now you can either do the timber from top to bottom or from side to side. It's entirely up to you, but I like to do one wall at a time. So I'm going to hold that like so. Take my machine and remove the wafer thin die adapter. And with 3D folders, you only need 1 cutting pad. So I'm going to run that through the machine. And we do recommend that with 3D folders, that you run them through once, twice, maybe up to 3 times. That is the best way to not only expel the water, but also to get a really clean, crisp, deep emboss. And I think you can see the depth of the emboss there and all that lovely detail. So I simply do the same on the other side and then the other walls as well. So that's how to use your 3D embossing folder. Now let's bring in the walls that I've pre-cut. These are not embossed, but I just want to show you how they go together. So there, what I want to do is I want to make sure, again, that these are straight, not wonky like that. So this time, I'm going to take away my craft mat, and I'm going to use the lines on my lovely Sizzix cutting mat. And just for speed, I'll use the glue gun. So let's make sure that is lined up on that baseline. That's perfect. And then when I get the second one, so let's just put a little bit of hot glue down that tab. And then we'll ensure by using those baselines, even if you're off by a mil, it makes quite a difference when you go to put these walls together. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the other tab, and you'll notice that I'm doing this flat. It's always a good idea to do it flat to ensure you're getting a really good fit. And you can press that into place, especially if you're using express glue or double-sided tape or your tape runner. And that's it, that's the walls. Now, this looks a bit wonky-donkey at the moment, but when you attach the roof and everything, it becomes absolutely rock solid. So we'll talk about the roof. Let's see the 2 elements that I pre-cut. So this is the roof itself, and that will fit on there like so. And then the porch, as you can see, fits over the top there. Now, just for the benefit of today's demonstration, what I've done, I've put some double-sided tape over there, just so you can see where I've placed it. It's entirely up to you. People use different methods for this. Some people like to use glue. Some people use the permanent adhesive roller, which is what I tend to go with most of the time, if truth be told. But this is just for visibility today, just so you can see where everything's going. So I'm going to peel off that double-sided tape, and then I'm going to take 1 set of shingles. Now with these you can bend the odd one back to get some extra kind of texture. And I'm going to start off like this, placing that one there, snip with my scissors, then take the next one and do likewise on the side, because I want to leave that channel. I want to leave that clear. So we'll trim that to size. So there's the first 2. Then I shall continue using the different shingles, and let's bend some more of those up. Okay, and it will all become apparent when I show you the finished piece. So again, one overlapping them like that. Now this bit in the middle here, you might want to use your it doesn't have to look pretty because it's not going to be seen, it's going to be covered by the porch roof. But I want to ensure that that is actually clear for when I stick it down. So I'm just going to trim that off there using my scissors. And then we'll take another one. And again, we're going to fold some of these up, just completely random. And then the next one goes down. You want to keep these quite close. You don't want them too far apart. And I'm going to continue all the way up on that one until I get something like this. Now, this is out of black card, obviously, so I'll move it around so the light catches it. But you can see where those shingles have been folded up. I also used one of the rooftop dies, which is this on the top there. That brings it all together and unifies it, ready for you to apply your chimney. Now, this one's slightly different. So the way that I do this, and I think we all do it quite differently, is I'll apply the first one like so. Then I'll trim it to size. So that follows the line of the rooftop. Then fold a few more of these up and place that over like that. And again, flip it over, follow the edge of the roof, just trim away with my little Sizzix scissors. Little alliteration there for you folks. And let's take another one. So I'm going to continue all the way up to the top until I get it where I want it. So you just trim it to size and you will end up with, again, something like this. Now there's a bit of hot glue there. Doesn't matter. It's all going to add to the effect when we dry brush this a little later on. So that's how I apply my roof tiles then. Now, next up, the porch. This is something now you can if you prefer, you can emboss this as well. It's entirely up to you what you want to do. You've got the door on the front there. I put some double-sided tape on here just to show you where I want to apply the adhesive. There are 2 tabs. Of course, this set, it's been so wonderfully well thought through. Every little detail, everything. It's right there. It's absolutely fantastic. And there we are. Now that sits on the front of the house. Now you can use it or not. It's entirely up to you. It depends the look that you're going for. So we'll pop that to one side. And I'm almost ready to go here. I've got my porch. I've got that there. I've got my chimney breast, so that fits on top of there like that. That's been pre-assembled. And I've also got my walls now. Here they are. Now this has been dry brushed with a very, very dark brown colour. So obviously it's the black underneath. I do like to start with black card. It's just a personal preference of mine. And let's take some express glue now. I'm actually going to run that just a little bit off my craft mat. The great thing about express glue, like our PVA, you can remove it easily enough afterwards. So that's to stick the doors and the windows down. But before I do that, I have actually got ahead of myself here. What I'm going to do, let's take this, and I'm going to apply some acrylics. We're going to be doing some of that dry brushing. If you've never done this before, it's a lot of fun, quite frankly. I'm going to be using 2 colors of acrylic. One is quite a rich red, almost like a sienna color, and the other one, there we have it. That one's called antique white. It's a sort of a beige. The brush I like to use is this one. You can use whatever brush you prefer. This is just my personal preference. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to build it up slowly. I'm not doing too much here. I'm just going to build that up, and let's come on the side. We'll show you the side actually. So there we are. It doesn't matter if you get those streaks in initially. That doesn't matter because it's all going to be covered up. It's about bringing out the texture of the wood, or rather the texture of the emboss. So I'm going to keep on going over that, and you can go over it and over it and over it until you get it where you want it. But start off with a little and add more as you go along. There we are. We'll do the same. So if we look at the porch on the front, even though this hasn't been embossed, we can get the same colors going on there as well, and it kind of gives it a careworn, sort of distressed look, which can look a bit industrial at the moment, but when it all sits together, oh boy, it's fantastic. Now let's take some of our lighter color. So making sure, so when we talk about dry brush, the brush is almost dry, as one might expect. And we'll keep going over that again, picking out that detail. And this one, this color in particular, really does bring out that lovely timber look. Absolutely fantastic. Now you can do this. I tend to do this prior to assembly, but to save a little time today, we're doing it all together. So there we have it, and you just keep going along like that until you get it where you want it. Now, next up, let's go back to, remember I applied some of that express glue there? I'm going to start attaching the doors and the windows, so that if you want to open these up as well, now opening these up, what it does, it not only lets the light in, but it lets the light out, because you can put some of those lovely little electronic tea lights in these, and it really does add, if you can get the ones that flicker as well. Oh my goodness, can you imagine that sat on your mantelpiece or in your, in your front window at Christmas time, just flickering away? It's a gorgeous, gorgeous effect. It really, really is. And you see, in my haste, I put that door down in the wrong place. But nil desperandum, folks. We shall soldier on, and we'll put my lovely window frame in place over the top there. There we have it. Let that glue take hold. And then next up, these were cut from black, and they have been painted with a green acrylic. And I've done a deliberate slapdash job on them because I want them to look not completely flat, but slightly distressed. So there we have it. That's now in place. So we go all the way around with those windows, but I think that's enough to be going along with, because next I'm going to take my roof and I'm going to use a couple of other colors. I'm going to use a grey. This is quite a dark grey, a very blue grey as well. And I'm going to pop that on there like so, and then we'll get some of this lovely green. It's always best when you're dry brushing to mix as many colors. You can bring in a mustard as well in this, just to add different tones, different textures. It really does add to the effect. Let's take that grey. And I'm going to brush down. Remember I said about adding depth to these shingles? Look at that already. Straight away, it's starting to look fabulous. And that's because of the way that we overlaid those shingles, the way that we bent some of them back into shape. Let's take the other side as well. Wow, how about that? And that's something, oh, will you look at that, folks? Hey, you know what? These are what we call, what's it Bob Ross used to call them, happy accidents, didn't he? That's going to look fine. It really is. You've got to trust Pete. There we are. Now, so we'll get some of that greener, and then let's get some more of this green. And see the difference that it makes when you go over that grey with this lovely green colour. And I've kind of blended them together. So again, there we have it. And this, because it's a lighter colour, it's picking up more of that detail, getting all that lovely lovely depth into that rooftop. You see, it looked great with the grey, but then when you start coming in with that green, it is gorgeous. Now, that's as far as I'm going to take that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the walls of my house and I'm going to show you how to apply this, or at least I'm going to show you my preferred method. So I'm just going to glue these first two tabs. That's one and that's two. I have to slide this into place carefully around the porch and make sure that those tabs have adhered to the roof. Then the next thing I'm going to do is do the tabs on the back. So a little bit of glue on those two tabs and then bring that into place. And this is where the walls of this house become really rigid. It starts, the structure starts to hold itself up. That's really, really strong now. Now, there are other tabs, of course, on the porch and on the sides of the walls here. And that, my friends, is where we're going to attach our porch roof. So see how it all comes together? You can even put glue on the sides there if you wish. That's entirely up to you. We're not going to glue we're not going to paint the whole thing for now. And finally, the chimney breast slots in place thus. Now, this is a Christmas cottage. So how are we going to get that Christmas look? Well, one of the ways we can do that is by taking some of this. It is Sizzix crystal paste, and it not only does it have real body, but it also has that lovely Christmassy glittery effect, and it has a texture as well. It's almost like a grit paste in many respects. And we can put that over the rooftops. And the great thing about it is it doesn't have to be perfect. It can look completely random. And we can put that again on the tops of the chimney. We can put it around the windows. We can put that exactly where we want it. So there you go, and just brush it. I'm not taking much care here, because if you are too careful, then it doesn't look kind of natural. It starts to look a bit contrived, and that's the last thing you want, quite frankly. So we do the same on the top of this roof. Obviously, this would be painted, but there we are. It gives you the idea of where we're going with this now. That's all done. So normally I would let that dry, but not today. I'm going to put it to one side just for a second and bring in the classic. Here's one I made earlier, because what we're going to do now is take some white. This is some white acrylic, because I want to get that Christmas vibe going on. So I'm going to water that down slightly with some, oh, and let's, for this one, because I'm using white, I'm going to wash my brush in between. So there we are. I'll just take that, use my kitchen paper. We makers, we do get through some kitchen paper, don't we? Wonderful invention, really is. So there we are. I've mixed this white with some water because I want to get it to a creamy consistency for this particular part of the make. And take most of that up because I'm going to come over the top. Now this is the suggestion of snow or frost, and it really helps to pick out the detail in those shingles. There we are. We'll move from there around the side, brush a bit more off, and just keep adding until you get it to exactly where you want it. So there, straight away, we're starting to see it is taking on a very frosty, very festive kind of vibe. Then I would do the same, obviously, with the walls. So I come along here, I go over those browns, and I pick up the detail with this white just to get that festive vibe going on. So there we are, and that's really starting to take shape. Now, the last thing I want to do to make it really, really super festive, if I just take away my craft mat for just a second, and what I'm going to bring in, this is just an old piece of cardboard, and I'm going to use it to spray some adhesive. Now this is 3M photo mount that I'm using. You can use whatever spray adhesive you like. I'm just giving it a light dusting, because let's put that away. So the cardboard was only there to protect my craft mat, obviously. And the last thing is Sizzix white glitter. And we're going to sprinkle that over over the top, even some down the chimney for center. And wow, how about that? You can just flick away any excess and suddenly it's gone from a greeny brown roof to, that just screams Christmas, doesn't it? Just that little bit of glitter added on there. Flick off the excess because you don't want too much of that. I've done it in my Sizzix funnel tray, so I can pour that straight back in there once I'm done. And that's the look we're going for. So let's go back to our original make, shall we? Let's take a look. Let's take the top off there. Now you can see here what I've done. I've used the glitter on the top of the roof. You can see that lovely crystal paste. We've applied the same thing to the trees. This is actually a twig that I found outside, and we made a little pile of logs there. And the base is with our wonderful texture paste. We made that, and of course, some added glitter. Now, should you wish, you can place a lovely tea light in there underneath. Pop that back on, a flickering tea light. Place that on your mantelpiece, or indeed in your window. And there we have it. That, my friends, is Christmas all wrapped up. Well, thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun for me. I know I love messing about with these dies and the acrylics and all the bits and pieces that go with it. And if you want to see more inspiration, then go to the source. Go and see timholtz.com. Stop along, see some of the things that his makers have created, and of course Tim himself. But if you want to see more inspiration from us, then go to sizzix.co.uk, or if you're in the US, sizzix.com.